Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of the 2.5 Coaches podcast. Welcome back.
We put up on our socials, we thought we'd just run a bit of a Q&A. So thank you to everyone who asked questions.
And thanks to all the coaches that put up Q&As as well.
Yeah, good stuff, Keith.
Well done, Keith. Good job.
Way to contribute.
2025 is my year for social media.
But before we dive into the Q&A, we thought we would just do a quick around the grounds recap. Obviously, we've been posting on the Perform Athlete page each week just some photos of our athletes in their various sports. But I think it'd be cool to, like, all it is a photo, so it'd be cool to kind of dive into any achievements or anything big over the weekend. Did you have anything from your guys?
I'll just, off the top of my head, I'll probably Chase to start with.
Chase started with us probably a month ago. I've worked with his physio in the past, Beck Forster from SportsMed Subi, and he's just been dealing with some lower back issues, and he's a motor car racer. I can't remember the exact. It's not motocross. He drives a fast car. Very nice fast car. But he had the state champs on the weekend after their mid-year break, and he came first in his first race, second in his second race, so he's currently sitting at number 1 overall.
So he's got a decent gap between him and second place, which is good.
Yeah. So that's cool just from like the outcome. Obviously, didn't really have much to do with that because I didn't teach him how to drive. But just from the physical side of things, he said just subjectively felt a lot less fatigue, and his back pulled up the best it's pulled up from a race. So that was pretty cool. So definitely the work that he's done over the last month or so has really paid off, and I think it'll be another month until he has his next race. So just another chance to put in some solid work. Mm-hmm. So well done to Chase.
Perry Lakes.
Perry Lakes D-League. The men won their final on the weekend. The women won the week before. So the clean sweep of D-League, which we love. Love that. So that was good. Special shout out to Max Bucknell on the men's side. And then it was the last round of NBL 1 as well. So Perry Lakes and Coburn played against each other. So Reese played against the Perry Lakes boys. Perry Lakes boys came out on top. That was their last game of the season. Bunbury played against Rockingham. So Devon against JB and Sam. Obviously Rockingham came out on top. But that was Bunbury's last game of the season as well. So a pretty solid season all round for Devon. And then finals prep pretty much for everyone else.
Got to quickly obviously say a little congratulations to Jared and Tiana.
Yeah.
They both got Defensive Players of the Year.
Yeah. MVP of D-League team and Best Young Rising Star.
Yeah.
And then Jared got Best Defensive Player for D-League. So that was huge.
Yeah.
It's cool. So big week. And then Charlie, I don't actually know how to pronounce her surname, Graziano or something, Graziano.
So we're going to get in trouble for that.
Going to get in trouble. But she, after, I don't know how long exactly she was out for, 2 or 3 months, with a stress fracture / stress response in her foot, had her first game back and pain-free, so that was huge. Just the rest of her body was really sore, but that's a really good sign though. And she played pretty well for her first game back, so just looking to build on that this week, and then she's off to college in 3 weeks, so it was awesome for her to get back on the court and just continue to build up her load. And then Rezzies for Basie.
Yeah, Rezzy scored up. I think we needed that win against Pally Seconds. I don't think it was their full Pally Seconds team, but we'll still take it.
First loss.
We'll take it. Basie, first grade, unfortunately, was the most depressing thing to watch because we definitely had the ability to win that game. We all say that, but we went down by 1 point, which really puts our season under a fair bit of stress. So we've pretty much got a must-win for the next 3 weeks to make finals, which I believe it's doable, but we'll see how we go on the weekend. I definitely think the boys can get it done. Sharks went down. We're having a bit of a slump at the moment. But the strange thing, obviously, with our comp is only 5 teams in the comp for the top grade, meaning we're in third place, we're playing final, so definitely pushing for that peaking ability, trying to get Mr. Bolthy back on the field this weekend. He's actually listening and doing all his rehab, which is making my life so much easier. And a few other boys, obviously. Marcel was over playing for South Africa on the Gold Coast, which is a pretty cool experience for him. We'll have him back. And then I think outside of that, it's just got to rewind a week and say, obviously, congratulations to Dan Schluter as well.
Yeah.
He's been unreal.
Shooter.
He trusted the process very well, as much as there's been a couple instances where we've had to tell people just to wait a couple of weeks, wait a little bit longer. You can see in their eyes they want to play, a bit frustrated, all that kind of thing. But he's gone back. He played last week, got a little bit sore, played this week, and he's like, I feel incredible, I feel amazing. So he's got a few more games until finals, and he's playing a good role in that team. So
all good. He's a shooter. I think that's it. I think Trinity, obviously.
This is like forgetting one of your kids out. Someone's going to be like, oh, what does that mean?
Someone's going to reply and be like...
I think with Trinity as well, I think we didn't play on the weekend, so we obviously gave away the points to Aquinas due to other external circumstances. So I think that puts us out of contention to win the cup for the year. But we have a big game this week, which is pretty good to see where the boys is at against Hale. So definitely dropped 2 games this year. So if we can beat them, hopefully we'll move up to top 2. Hopefully, if we do beat them. So we'll just got to wait and see. But we've got a pretty strong side this week. I think we get a debutant, hopefully this week as well, and the return of Carter.
Mr. Carter.
Yeah, so Carter did his ACL 12 months ago, so he's been doing a bit of rehab with us and at Trinity as well. So hopefully this week he snags a couple of goals in the cage for us. So yeah, it'll be huge.
That's pretty much it. Oh God, I'll get in trouble. And Caleb obviously played in the World Cup.
Oh, yeah. No, fuck Caleb.
Which was unfortunate, but which is tough for him. He's playing for South Africa. He's training over here. I think he got with the group on the Monday before the game started on the Thursday or the Friday.
Jesus.
So it's like you're preparing on your own, which is quite tough. And I think it was quite lucky for the environment that we have, where we've got the field sessions on the Wednesdays and the Saturdays, and we're pulling bodies out of rugby players to then create scenarios for him to then do a little bit of training. But he said that was probably the main thing from the tournament, was just trying to nail down his role and nail down his job. Physical prep was sweet. He's all fit. Everything. Did you see that one try from the intercepts? And just pops out of nowhere.
I think you should see more his defensive efforts. Kid can actually play defense for once. Usually just attacks the ball, but he's actually played some good defense.
But yeah, I think they finished in 10th or 11th or something like that. They had a few tough games in Japan and one of the other games they lost, which pushed them down the ladder a fair bit. And then when you meet teams like New Zealand and stuff like that, I think it's pretty tough from there. But yeah, well done to him. And he's over in the UK now, hanging out with our first son, Harrison. But I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it for the... Oh, Andreas as well.
Oh, yeah, Andreas is back. Oh, actually, yeah, that's another one. So Andreas is back. He was playing in AAU tournaments. He was playing in a few different ones. One was the Puma circuit. There's that many bloody AAU comps, but he was in a couple of them. And he played really well on all accounts. He got a shout out for the best miscellaneous player from one of the scouts, so that was cool. So he's my favourite miscellaneous player. And then him and Lockie are off to the Gold Coast this weekend to play in the Schoolboys Nationals. So I don't know if Andreas has actually been at school for the last 6 weeks, but
Last week more important.
yeah, ball is life. All right, should we dive into some questions then? 10 minutes of rambling.
Nice.
Solid. All right, so if you've made it past the 10 minutes, maybe we'll put something at the very start. Go to the 10-minute mark if you want to avoid the rambling. So first up, what made you start, or what made you get into coaching? Do you want to start, Isaac?
Oh, Jesus. I started back in the gym at 15, 16 years old.
Were you in the Zeus era?
Yeah, mate. From the bodybuilding era.
If you want to see Isaac
Oh,
in
here we go.
bodybuilding poses,
Careful,
just
mate.
feel free
Careful,
to shoot us.
mate.
Private DMs only.
Pull content up, mate. I got plenty of you, mate. But anyway, yeah, I was trying to get as big as I possibly can at 16 years old, like everybody does. And the PT at the time, Anytime Fitness, I ended up working for him when I initially started. And he, like, just watching him train people and watching people come through the door, meh kind of mood, and then walk out, like, feeling incredible, feeling really good. You get these, like, transformations with these people. And it wasn't really even just the body comp side of things, but it was just, like, how he affected someone's mood. And then he was probably one of the first people that sparked the creativity side of things, and, like, watching this ability for an individual to walk through the door, see how they are, see how they're moving, see what's going on, and then adjust things on the fly. And he was probably the first person. I think this is what's missing a little bit in S&C, but to provide like a service. And it's nearly like a form of like entertainment. Like if someone comes to see you and you've got 45 minutes to an hour with them, you need to essentially deliver like a service, a bit of entertainment. Like they need to walk out feeling better. And he was the first person that sparked that for me. And then asked him a couple of questions, ended up going to TAFE, which is 12 months, and then kind of rolled in from there. So yeah, I started back when I was 17, so 5 years ago.
How old are you now?
Like 26 or something. Damn, that's 12 years ago. That's crazy.
Damn. Do you want to go, Adam?
Yeah. I think similar. I started in the gym around 14, 15.
Doing snap downs.
Doing snap downs.
Talk about exclusive content.
Doing
Talking about exclusive content, even better. Adam will
There's this
grab on-
one video of this one time.
Yeah, of this one time that Adam does snap down. So if you want to see it, same thing. If you want to see Artek's photos as well, just shoot me a DM.
I'm gonna, as much as I love
Keith,
tomorrow,
if Keith doesn't come to work tomorrow, you know why.
as much as I love tomorrow, that's on her.
The whole do as your coach says.
I was being a good athlete and doing the program against my will. I'll have that on record.
I don't want to do it. You have to.
So I think, like, fortunately, I had a older friend who was doing sports science, and kind of that introduction to the gym was obviously like any 14, 15-year-old boy. Like, I'm trying to pack on muscle, but
Do you have any bodybuilding for that?
no, I don't have any bodybuilding photos, unfortunately. But that introduction was a little bit more like, what I'm doing in the gym is to improve my sporting performance. So I think I had a bit of a healthier relationship with that side of things, which was like lucky, because I think, given my personality, I probably could have ended up as a bodybuilder or something.
It's never too late, mate. It's never too late.
Richard's always in my DMs. So that's kind of like sparked my love for lifting and training, and having that person there to kind of guide me was cool. And then from there, I did sports science at uni because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And even then, like, yeah, it wasn't really until my final year where I kind of discovered what S&C really was. Started working with Tamara Jacobson, and she was doing like private sector S&C out of Revo, and that was kind of my first introduction to what S&C really was like and how to actually properly gym, which was really cool. And then from there, I kind of just fell in love with it, really, and then started following people on social media, which then just further sparked my interest. And then from there, in my final year, I did an internship prac at a gym, and then from there, I got offered a job, and then I've been stuck here ever since.
Oh, good. I love that. Kind of had a different path in my end, a bit of a late bloomer. Thought I was going to keep growing.
Everything in life.
Thought I was going to keep growing, but I stopped growing when I was 12. So when started going to the gym, I think year 10, got really lucky, obviously got into the long-term athlete development program at Wesley. So that was pretty cool. Got to experience that firsthand, I think, year 11 and 12, and then started packing a lot of weight on. I think I was 63 when I first started the gym. Jesus. Ended up in the front row at 80, so if you also want to see now. But
Actually, yeah, I do have some.
Some photos of
Some
chubby
progress
Keith.
photos, mate.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm like, Keith, you're playing rugby. I don't need these. look how big I am.
But ended up just getting really big and obviously getting really strong. Played really well that year, and then didn't actually really want it. Like, I don't think anyone knew what they wanted to do in year 12. So got a scholarship for architecture. Thought I was going to do that. Changed my mind pretty quick on that one. Ended up going to TAFE to do a horticulture course on how to actually grow some plants.
What kind of plants, Keith?
But yeah, ended up just hating that. So one of the coaches, actually, the coach I worked with for the past 2 years, I had David Dwyer the first year, which he was in West Indies cricket the year before. He came to Wesley, and then obviously when he left, Dr. Dan Hiscock came in and kind of sparked that S&C mindset and started coaching there. And then, yeah, got a bit lucky, went to uni, and then met Isaac through rugby, which is pretty cool. And yeah, ended up at Perform. It was pretty fun.
It was real fun.
Now I'm stuck.
Best 2 years of my life.
Help me.
Held her against my will. Cool. Next question. What makes Perform HQ different to other gyms in Perth? Isaac, as the man who created it all, what makes it different?
That's what I've been saying this whole time. I think Perform is me. No, but
Probably, to be honest, that probably is one thing. Is like genuinely is like the wide range of personalities we have here. You've got the grumpy leader or the grumpy boss, but just to keep everything
in check.
preventing us from any legal cases. I think probably there's a couple of points. The number one's probably going to be one thing we drive, which is, I think it's obviously natural from our standpoint, is just like that personal care. We've all been athletes. We've all been athletes that have been through injuries. We've all been athletes that have like had our own little ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. So to relate's probably one of the biggest ones. So that empathy, that care, that like want to go into the extra mile to make sure people actually, and it's again, that's not just us. There's other gyms and people that do that as well. But then maybe I feel like you guys probably answer this a bit better, but just maybe that ability to like you ask anybody that walks in here, it's like the environment's probably the key.
Yeah.
I think the spacing and the culture is like the difference, I think.
Yeah, I think, you touched on that pretty well. I think community aspect of it is pretty cool, like watching someone like Harry, Zane and Caleb been here since the beginning and then making really good, like, lifelong friends throughout the process. And obviously now Caleb, after the World Cup, went straight to England to visit Harry, which is pretty cool. And they've been with us, like, Caleb's been with us since the beginning, before even Perform even started, which is insane to watch. And
I think, like, yeah, that community aspect of people from all different sports getting to know each other, like, especially it's been really cool for a lot of the girls. Like, obviously the gym for a younger girl can be a very intimidating place. I think, like, from the outside looking in, it can be very intimidating, but when you come in here, you realise that everyone's actually just a bit stupid and, like, nothing... Level-headed, yeah. And then, so from that side, like, the girls have kind of got their own little community going on, and it's been really cool watching them, like, go support each other, even, like, within our guys as well. You know, when Keith made his debut this year, had a bunch of the guys from the gym go watch him, like, from all different sports. But even, like, Rach going to watch Raya going to watch Rach, and just seeing, like, people from different sports support each other, which has been really cool.
Because that's probably the one thing is, like, half the reason we play sport to win. Yeah, let's not bullshit around that. But like half of it is like I've realised is that community element. I remember I played rugby from 5 years old to 18, and then I stopped, and then like from 18 I think to 23, like I genuinely felt like shit because you're losing that community element and you're losing that like genuine connection. That's what I think why the most successful teams work well is because they gel really well together. And I think the beauty of what happens here is you get those individuals that you might be playing local sport. Maybe not everybody in the team is super driven, super motivated, super keen to like go to the gym, go to the physical development. So then you end up connecting with other like-minded people from different sports, and then you get that connection. And that's where you have rugby league girls and basketball girls starting to connect, and you can start to branch outside of your sport. You start to see what other people do. Like even for like Dan, like playing lacrosse, a lot of people are like, oh, what's the stick? What is the ball? What's it made of? Is that going to hurt? Like, people start to get genuinely interested in each other, and you make these lifelong friends, which is pretty cool.
I think a big one as well is I think the little kids finding it mental and older guys to actually learn off. Like, we got really lucky, obviously, having Reese, Ferg, and all the older guys that actually play overseas, train with us, and during off season when they're here, the kids actually ask them questions, and even we ask them questions about their career and what they wish they should have known, or they would have asked or known before, and during their playing career, and how to actually keep that spark alive. I think a lot of people, when they hit that stage where you get a bit burnt out off the sport, you just end up losing love for the sport that you like playing. And obviously getting to know them as well, and then the kids, building a good connection with the kids is, it's insane to watch. It's incredible.
And then even on like a slightly smaller level, or not smaller level, but like small age gap, you got guys who are maybe the older guys in the squad at their respective clubs, and then like younger guys who are kind of getting into that senior grade, and then having that mentorship to an extent. And even like over the off season with like Marcus and Fish, like Fish has then changed clubs because of Marcus, and he's got that education from the rugby side of things through Marcus, and that was like really cool to watch as well. And then, I guess another thing, just like fundamental differences in how we approach the training as a whole, is like having the field sessions and the court sessions, and offering that, and how we structure the memberships and stuff to allow flexibility, because like, you know, everyone's schedule's different. It's always like, that's probably the biggest barrier to a lot of like private sector S&C, and why people would just prefer to gym by themselves, is because they get the freedom to choose around their like hectic schedules. So that's been like a big piece for us, is to try and make it as accessible to as many people as possible, and getting quality service the whole time.
Because that's probably like the court and field sessions, like you're saying. That's, I feel like Corey. I always look to Corey. I can never.
Schlesinger.
Yeah, you say it, I can't pronounce it. But like that risk of being a little bit more hybrid and pushing outside of the general preparation kind of barrier that a lot of people are worried to get outside of. But I think that is the difference, because like when you look at from WA perspective, look outside of footy, like the skills development side and the resources that they don't have a lot of that stuff. So like when they come down to our field sessions and they're actually doing we're sneaking a little bit of skills side of things, or we're integrating the agility work, whatever it might be. It's development that these guys haven't had their whole playing career. So it's like, we'll do an agility drill, and it might be like a 2v1 or a 1v1 or some kind of scenario, and they've never done it. So they've never had an opportunity to practice evading a defender, which blows my mind. And it's like, we could do all the squats and all this stuff in the world, but if you can't anticipate another body and learn that, how are we going to get better? So I think that part of like being okay to push outside the norm and challenge things a little bit, and just deliver get outside of the S&C head and get inside the athlete, and you're like, what as an athlete, what do I need help with? I'm not like a couple of the guys coming down with contact. I'm not confident going into contact. All right, let's practice it. Let's do some reps. Let's use this big tackle shield behind us.
Yeah, we actually have Adam and I had a really good chat about that. It's like, I didn't quite understand the field session until we watched a lot of rehab guys come through, and especially with the return to play aspect of it. I think someone with a shoulder injury would come like
Troy.
Yeah, like Troy.
Rach. Yeah.
Who's the one recently?
Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan's a good example, right? Like, he felt so strong in the gym, everything felt perfect, but I think that one missing key was his willingness to actually finish off a tackle or make the tackle. And I think having that field session there where you get constant reps in, and like we talked about yesterday, where it's like, you can feel really good in that first couple of tackles, but then after that, when you get fatigued in 4 and 5, does it look the same as when you do your first and second tackle? And
even like different bodies.
Yeah.
Like you could see wanting to tackle, who do we have down there?
Exactly.
But like wanting to tackle Jamie versus wanting to tackle Zane. Zane's 110 kilos NFL player. It's like, it is like, you unlock that fear and unlock that confidence to go, after you do a little, it could be a 3x3 meter zone, you tackle them a couple of times, that wasn't so bad. Like, my shoulder actually feels pretty good. But that confidence in the mind.
It's that psychological,
which is,
injuries.
Which is like another whole conversation itself, but like that return to play process. How it's like Ethan's a perfect example of someone who's ticked off all the objective measures, like his strengths, like the same. He can do the tackling and blah blah blah, but it was like that psychological. Do you feel confident? Do you feel ready to do that? And it's not even like, oh, you need to wait another week. It's like, no, you just need some more reps in like a controlled environment, then introduce some chaos. And I think like that's something that we've done really well. And just blurring that line between like skills training and strength and conditioning, because I think so often people are just like so concerned about like getting outside of like, you know, the whole like stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And it's like,
there's fear put into their mind.
We're not going to put our hands up and say we're skills coaches. But like, I mean, myself and Isaac, maybe not Keith, but we've all played at a relatively high level.
Under 16 Sunny Coast, that's me, mate.
You know, but I mean, I think we've had enough exposure at a higher level and within our coaching as well to like understand the skill side of things to an extent, and I'm never going to understand it to the same level that someone who's dedicated their coaching to that, but we can at least speak the same language as the skills coaches and kind of bridge that gap. Is like, is this a skill issue? Is it a physical quality issue? What do we need to actually work on? And then on the flip side of that is like, we're not physios, we're not going to diagnose anything, but we need to have enough knowledge in that rehab area, because there's a massive grey area where that crosses over, and being able to speak that same language. And so it's like we're still staying in our lane doing what we are doing, but we have enough knowledge outside of our lane, and I'm not going to be stepping on other people's toes, but it's like I can then have a like proper conversation. What's up, Harlow? Proper conversation with a physio or a skills coach, and then I think that just allows the whole physical development process to level up to a whole new level.
That's what, again, I love what Corey does, because that's what he talks about, because one of the big key elements of that's like efficiency. It's like if you do something with the highest of qualities, the cost is lower. So if we can refine certain pieces that get outside of our little box a little bit, we could then make it cost. It's the same things like running efficiency, sprinting efficiency is a big one. If we can get someone's technical abilities better, then it ends up costing less. So when they sprint and when they move and when they travel, there's less demand from like an energy system standpoint. So then they can do more reps. So like that then makes them a little bit fitter, or makes them a little bit faster. And it's like, that's what we're trying to push a bit more. It's like, rather than doing heaps of shit, let's just do what we need to do really well, get it efficient, and then the quality's better. And that covers that whole return to play outside of our scope kind of.
I think like the perfect example of that is like now that GPS is becoming popular and stuff, you see that like the team sport coach who just doesn't understand like physical development to the same extent. You'd think they'd probably grasp this concept, but like how many of them are like, oh, like, you know, as the best player on the team, they're like, oh, they're running like 3Ks less than everyone else. And it's like, they need to run more. It's like, no, like the other guys are working too hard and they're inefficient at what they do.
And this is a really good one as well. Like, obviously, we got really lucky with Trinity having the GPS, like 10 units of GPS. Obviously, our main midfielders usually have it. But
how many times do you think Keith's going to mention that you got 10 units of GPS at Trinity?
One per podcast.
But obviously, we spread it out, and what we came across was like the better games that we played, the GPS numbers were a lot lower.
Which makes sense, because you're moving the ball as a team so much better.
And we're so much more efficient with ball usage too. And you watch the stats and stuff, not everyone's going to have crazy amount of stats, but you look at how balanced everything looks as well in terms of like the backline to the forwards, and everyone's getting the exact same numbers, and it's like sweet, like makes a big difference.
100%. Alright, that was 15 minutes on that question.
Should we go into the primers and the
I can use
stuff?
the exercise one first, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
What's yours, Adam?
Well, so the question, let's start with the question. Exercises that we used to use when we first started that we no longer use or that we dislike. I'm going to start. I don't think I ever actually programmed them, but
Here we go. Someone, whoever was his first client, please go back into your programs.
I may have programmed variations of.
Oh,
No, I honestly.
What did snap-downs do to you, man?
I don't think I ever programmed them, but I remember doing them as an athlete. And
yeah,
been,
you do.
It's Keith's screensaver, just you like that.
But I remember like being an athlete and doing like having a coach like give me this and just like this makes no sense. I've like the whole like you got to do the snap down to get into like a good landing position to get into your athletic posture, and I'm like, fuck, I've watched a lot of basketball. I've never once seen someone in this position. So I mean that goes without saying, but snap downs are definitely up there.
I just want to make sure everyone heard that.
Yeah, make sure everyone heard that. I hate snap downs.
Loves them. We can edit that out.
I don't think I particularly have an exercise that I used to use, but I don't use anymore. I think my library's actually gotten a lot bigger.
Oh my god.
Maybe too many exercises.
So we use Everfit as our training app, and you can obviously add. So there's what I think we have like over 2,000 exercises in there.
Yeah, that's more now.
So there's 6,000 in the app, and a lot of them's just Everfit doing their little weird exercises. But I think we have about between you and Ivan, Jesus, there's probably 2,500 to 3,000 of our own exercises. I reckon about 2,000 are Keith, and they're just like 15 different variations of the same thing.
Well, it's like
they don't have a video that we made because we have to keep making the videos.
It's when you add an exercise, you forget the name, so you create one with a different name.
Literally, and I'll go through to put the exercise, and there's 5 of the same thing.
We've got like B stance RDL, split stance RDL, staggered stance RDL.
But the real question is it a bench press or a chest press? Because in the app, it's got dumbbell chest press, but then it's also got dumbbell bench press.
Yeah, because you added the chest press. We're all happy calling it bench press. So Keith doesn't know anything about exercises, so it's a poor question for him. What about you, Isaac? Any exercise that you use?
I don't just. I'm a bit neutral. I don't dislike any exercise. I think they'll have their purpose. Cliche. Yeah. What don't I use? I'm trying to think.
Well, I guess we
like preacher curls, maybe. No.
Preacher curls.
Mate, open up that upper back posterior
Yeah,
extension.
here we go.
Mate, you were telling me the other day how like your neck felt the best when you used to do preacher curls,
Yeah, it
and then
actually
you
did.
stopped doing it.
I was joking. Yeah, I actually don't know. I can't remember.
Boring.
Nah, actually, I'm trying to think. I think I've programmed a couple burpees before, I reckon. In my early days as a PT. Maybe say burpees, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean burpees probably another one that's just stupid. Like, what are you getting out of
It's fun, but just fuck around your blood pressure a fair bit. Just down, up, down, up.
You know who really likes burpees though?
Who?
My boy Jack Hardy.
Where did you see his burpee
Special
pull-ups?
shout out.
Special shout out to Jack Hardy and his burpee pull-ups. That
The future High Rocks champion.
completely obliterated his hands.
If you have sports bet and you will put money on someone actually winning the Ironman or the High Rocks, chuck it on Jack Hardy. It's going to win.
I mean, if you think David Goggins has
Demons.
you haven't met Jack Hardy.
Oh man, training in here with him at 11 o'clock, and instead of listening to
Instrumental motivational music.
Batman music only, and it's just all The Rock's motivational speech.
He's gonna love you for this.
You know how like on YouTube, on the TV in here, like no one's logged into the YouTube, so like the search history is just whatever's been searched. And whenever I remember going in to turn on to like get up some like basketball highlights or something, and then the like most recent search was David Goggins' motivational speech, and it was from like the night before when.
But to be fair, we need to get Jack on the pod. He would actually be a very good person.
First interstate guest.
I think it's the mindset behind being a pro athlete. I think Jack's like the epitome of that.
Yeah.
Because
All right, we're getting out of exercises we use, and we're going into our love for Jack Hardy. Keith's love for Jack Hardy.
I miss you, Jack. Come back.
Primers.
What was the question?
So it was like primers, when to use them, how to use them. I want to do a little rant on this quickly, and then I'll get you guys to do like numbers and days and all that kind of stuff. No, it's not a rant. I don't rant. Neutral. I'm calm. But it was like, like primers, when to use them, how to use them. So like with most things in the industry, when certain topics pop up, obviously everyone starts to use them. So this was popularized, I feel like it was mostly popularized by the All Blacks. However long ago, they started to train the morning of the game. And they use it mainly like a strength or power standpoint. And the whole point of it's obviously get like a potentiation effect. The whole goal is to push that neural stress to get it super compensated to then have a positive effect later in the day. I feel like, and this is us included, especially when we use it in the early days, like a gym session isn't a priming session, and we've got to define what priming is, and like the whole goal is to prime for the game day or prime for the situation that we're trying to use. So like when we're using these, making sure we've actually got the relative loads or the relative bar speeds or whatever it might be to ensure that it's actually a potentiating effect, or like we use priming in the sense of like we're priming them to feel a bit better maybe, which is a different subject. Because like when I was speaking to the Blues S&C when they were here, they were talking about certain scenarios where like it was too much of a pain to drive out of the hotel, go to a gym, drive back on the game day. So they would give them like a pump primer, and there was like hormonal effects, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And then also from a mental perspective, like give yourself just arms are full, mate. You're feeling good. Like, so defining what your priming is, but like obviously the main priming effect we're trying to get is that neurological, like that, hey? The neurological stimulus. So making sure when we do our primers, which we'll talk about days and et cetera, like making sure the loads are relative, because like I think about this from like different bodies, like for example, like Marcus, he's like a big, strong body, so he takes a while to warm up because he is so strong. So for someone like him to shift some heavier loads and to spend a bit of time building up to a decent heavy load, whatever potential sub-max, we don't want to go too light that there's no stimulus, but it's just heavy enough to then hit that trigger. Then for him, he feels awake, he feels up and about. Whereas we might have those more fast outside backs or wings or whatever it might be, and they might be more power, more rate of force development, stuff like that. So just making sure when we do these priming sessions, they're actually priming for what we're trying to do. Or if could be an old boy, could be like Cowboy or something like that, and they feel a lot. They
wouldn't like that one.
I'll tell
Are
him when
you
he
much younger than Cowboy?
Actually, no.
Damn.
Us old boys might be doing a in brackets priming session, but it might be more longer ISOs or overcoming ISOs and stuff like that. That's more from like a tender perspective that feels a bit better. So yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think primers, obviously, it all dependent on the individual too. I think you look at a lot of people, it looks good because everyone's like, oh man, you're going to the gym before you play a game. Mm-hmm. But it all depends on how the individual feels. Because I feel like if you're usually going to your game feeling lethargic or you're feeling real fatigue and you need a lot of time to warm up, priming is like a perfect example of why you do it in the morning. Because if you obviously play Prems or you play Pro level, the games don't happen till the night. And in the whole early morning leading up to that game, it's such a big gap of doing nothing. And if you feel like you're that kind of person who just needs to get out of bed and actually go do something, a priming is a perfect example of doing that, where you don't need to lift a lot of weight. Because like, I think the load was about like 20 to 40% if you're trying to do ballistic movements for someone that just wants to move really quick. And I think about 80% or more in a 1 rep max.
It'd be like 80 to 90% from like a one. Because the other thing too is like, look at microdosing from a perspective. You could use this as a dosing effect.
Yeah.
So we could get that decent loading, because most of them wouldn't have lifted a heavy weight. Like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesdays usually when they'll do another heavier one. Yeah. So that's why you've got to like you said, pick it like a more ballistic effort, more of a power rate of force development effort, or more of a maximal
effort,
relative load maximal strength. Because it could be like 80 to 85, 90% for 1 rep and just shift that thing as fast as you possibly can. It's not going to cause anywhere near as much fatigue, but you're going to get that potentiation effect. You're going to get all the modiant recruitment, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Especially like Mark is probably another good example, especially if you're like a prop or something who's going to be going into like a lot of heavy contact.
Scrums.
That's like scrums and stuff. Something like that's going to be more appropriate versus like a basketball player who's not going into contact, or like a outside back who's going to be like doing a lot more running. Like they're going to need a bit more of that ballistic stuff. And so just like Keith touched on earlier, it's like just knowing the athlete, what they need. And from the priming point, like some people, they prefer to do it the day before. Some people would prefer to do the day of, and knowing the difference. And
so what would be our time frames? How far out?
I think it's a day. If I'm not mistaken, it's like a day to like on an hour to 72 hours.
It would be like 6, wouldn't it? Because you want at least 6 hours prior to.
Yeah. For a true priming session.
Yeah.
Up to what 72 can be.
Yeah, it can be 72.
But you
probably want to do it the day before.
Yeah, I feel like Friday. Say we're playing Saturday. Friday morning's probably good. Because how long is this potentiation effects lasting?
If you're
How
doing
strong
it,
are you?
purely like
What stimulus are you getting? Yeah.
purely, then it goes back to like, is it a priming session or is it just a training session?
Yeah, exactly.
So if we're speaking like purely objectively of the priming session, then you're probably looking between that 6 to at the very utmost 48 hours, but probably less, more like 36. And then obviously you'd adjust your volume accordingly. So that's the biggest one. It's like, just because you're doing it 6 hours before doesn't mean you're doing the same volume that you would do 36 hours before. Like you could handle more volume because you have more time to recover, and then you're going to have that greater potentiating effect. But if you're doing it that day off, then you want to make sure that the intention is there, like very minimal volume, but you're getting that potentiating effect.
I think a big one as well is like, obviously the podcast's going to come through next week or sometime this week. Do not
No,
do
we'll
this.
upload it like next few days.
Oh,
Man.
next
Don't
few
you
days.
stress. Don't you worry, man. You just sit there and look cute. It's all right, man.
But don't.
He doesn't know where he is.
It's too early.
Midday.
What time did you wake up?
No, but don't. Obviously, it's going into finals. Don't change the way that you get ready for a game, because usually you want to try out new stuff when you're obviously in pre-season, so you can actually play around with trying new stuff out. I think towards the back end of finals, you don't really want to change too much of your structure and how you go into games, because sometimes it might hinder the way you play. Sometimes it actually make you feel better, but you don't know that unless you trial.
So it's like if you're an athlete now, let's say you usually train on a Friday and you don't always feel the best, it's probably a scenario where you would. But if you're training on a Friday, you feel pretty good. You don't need to change anything. Keep it the same. But just from like a programming perspective, like you've already said, like we keep the volume low. So like for effort sets, we got warm-up sets and effort sets. You're looking at 1 to 2 sets, maybe 3 if you need it, if you need that actual push. And you do a little bit of mobility. You might do some isometrics. You have some kind of strength, power, ballistic, either something on its own or something in a contrast with a jump or something like that. From like a lower body perspective, maybe like an upper body bench press or something like that, banded throws, pushes, presses, whatever. And then maybe one last coordination-based movement or core-based movement or throw, rotation, whatever. And you're pretty set.
You should be, like general rule, like you should be in and out within 30 minutes. Like you shouldn't be here much longer. Plus, you should feel better leaving the gym than you came in. Like generally, that's a rule that we have for most of our sessions, especially in season. You should feel, for the most part, better than you came 100%. In. But this, like 110%, you're priming to be the best you can be for the game. You should feel better when you leave.
Yeah, trying to fatigue yourself.
That's probably a good point too, because it's on game day especially, like there's priming yourself physically, then there's priming yourself mentally. So it's a good opportunity to get in, put the headphones on, start to switch on, start to think about what you're going to do for the day, what's your roles, etc. So there's that other element of it too.
Yep. And, let's move on to the next question. I think. David
You're in a rush. You got to go somewhere.
No, but the next question we got in is some in-season metrics we would use to test.
Well, it depends what you try to, like, depends on the individual, depends on the sport. I think for us, we're quite lucky in terms of like the force plates, because one of the bigger things from an in-season testing perspective is obviously what are we trying to minimise?
Injuries.
And fatigue. Because like we're looking at the cost of an assessment, so like doing a 1 rep max assessment versus doing a jump on a force plate or a mid-thigh pull or something like that. Like they're different. And again, like not everybody has force plates. So I think the creativity side of things, and I think this is one thing, like the run specific ISOs is a really good tool because you can objectify your metrics and you can get some kind of assessments there. But I think from us, like we were playing around with like the counter movement jump repeats was probably one that we were playing around with. Pulling off obviously the jump heights and then pulling off the RSI from that rebound, and that was one thing that we were playing around with a fair bit. And then obviously that's adjustments of the assessments and how people can get around it's another topic of conversation. And then other bits and pieces like just the actual sessions in themselves are a great assessment. From a good portion of our guys that are in that like long-term development standpoint, they're still making progress in season. Like I think of Soph as probably the perfect example in my head where like she came in at the start of the season from a strength perspective, her numbers have just gone up and up and up and up. And I've just pretty simply used a linear periodization to move her from obviously a little bit higher volumes, higher reps, down into lower volumes, lower reps at the back end of the season. And she's shifting ones and twos, moving it fast. Simple. I know she's getting strong. That's a metric that we can track there. But yeah, anything else?
Yeah, I think obviously if you have access to technologies and stuff, that's going to be huge. And then you just have to know what you're looking for, like at what metrics, because the force plates can spit out so many. But then, like, it's really cool for us. We can see, like, the jump height and eccentric force demand and all that kind of stuff, but it also immediately spits up, or spits out, like, what it is compared to the week before and compared to previous tests. So we can just, like, see straight away. It's like, oh, sweet, maybe you are a little bit more fatigued. Like, but then also asking that subjective question as well. Like, how do you feel? Because I think that's a big one is, like, as you get more into that technology side of things, like, same with the Whoop bands, like if you've got an Apple Watch, like it gives you all this like quote unquote recovery metrics. It's like just ask yourself like how do you feel, and then as you get into your session, it's like all right, this weight feels a bit heavier than usual. Like maybe I've carrying a bit more fatigue. So as much as we use these metrics to test, there's also that subjective element of it as well. But from like if you don't have access to force plates, that kind of stuff, like as simple as finding a way to measure your standing vertical jump. And then just tracking that week on week, doing a broad jump, tracking that week on week, some sort of like, you do like a seated med ball throw. It's like, is that getting further or is that getting worse? Or like, is that a result of fatigue? You can ask those questions and just like you touched on, it becomes part of the training as well. So like we often get, if we're programming broad jumps because we're trying to get that explosive thing and that's the training stimulus, but we can go from the training point of view as well. It's really good for them to compete against themselves and then try get further. But then also that becomes a test. I can go, hey, like that's like 20 centimeters down from last week. Like, are you feeling like a bit fatigued? Like, all good. Or you can like just it's exactly the same as a strength. Whereas like people just don't have that same thought process to applying it to more ballistic activities. But if I can just objectively see that I don't need to do a 1RM. If like so Sophie's a perfect example, I don't need to do a 1RM box squat to know that her box squat has increased. Yeah. I can just like, it was 60 and now it's 140. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark, but I'd say her box squat's probably gotten stronger. She's gotten stronger.
That's probably the other thing, like, side note, just from like a strength perspective is, I understand there's the stimulus of the 1RM. So there's the stimulus and the demand that puts on the system from lifting a heavy load. But you can also calculate someone's 1RM. So you don't, again, that's a side subject.
You said you don't rant, mate.
Yeah, literally. I'm not. But that's probably a good point is like, let's have some kind of like strength assessment. Let's have some kind of like rate of force development assessment. Let's have some kind of like ballistic or jumping or plyometric assessment. If you probably put those three in your, and then obviously like a conditioning assessment, if you can put those four in your sessions, and this is part of the program, like you said, so they're probably a bit fresher on the Wednesday. So on the Wednesday, they might have a box squat or a squat supersetted with a vertical leap that's trying to hit a height. And then at the back end of the session, we're using the Concept 2 bike or we're using something, and I just want to see them chew up more meters than they did last week. Bang, we've just hit a couple of assessments in one session. There's your testing.
I think, yeah, like it's very easy to get caught up in the technology and stuff, like we said, and like the feeling the need to buy the force plates or buy all this fancy technology is like just get creative as well. Like from the coaching side of things, like what can you use with the equipment that you have available to assess your athletes in some way, and then just week on week, just keep track of it. Like,
I don't know if anyone can hear the rain, but if you're listening to this at night, hopefully it's just like a meditation podcast. Like you just fall asleep.
All right, we'll get into our last two questions. I think we'll start with the Olympic one. Very topical, given the Olympics. Does it start this weekend?
Oh, I have no clue. I think it's the next few weeks.
I think it starts this week, maybe. I don't know.
We're definitely track and field coaches. If you were to go to the Olympics for any sport other than your own, what would it be?
Well, let's define our sports. What's your sport, Keith?
Look, if I was actually athletically
Depends what
gifted,
mood he's in.
I'll probably go for high jump. It's a very good sport to go into. If you watch,
define what sport you are.
no, I play.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
sorry.
it's something other than the sport that you do.
So I used to obviously play indoor soccer, a little bit of volleyball,
Obviously.
You
and
say
rugby.
obviously all the time. Like everyone knows everything
But
about it.
I just think high jump would be a really good sport to get into. Just watching the crowd get around and just physically just jumping past 2 meters, 2.5 meters.
Keep wishing, mate, for one. I think you need to pick something better. No, not many people are below 6'3" if they're high jumping. You're about a foot off that.
Oh, okay.
About
That's
a meter.
tough. I said if I was actually athletically gifted.
Well, vertically gifted. What about you, Isaac?
Oh, I definitely go the 100.
Yeah.
I can't run anything longer than that, so I'm going to go with the 100 meter.
Yeah. It's like the main event as well.
Yeah, I'd be on the outside lane, probably losing in the qualifyings, but that's all right as long as I got to go there.
Hey, if you got,
I get my tattoo of the rings. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, I don't know
Hurdles,
if
mate.
it,
Hurdles.
yeah, I don't know if it counts if I did previously do hurdles, but I reckon either the 110 hurdles or probably the 100-meter sprint. I think just like for team sports, obviously that's not like the pinnacle of your sport for the most part. Like,
We could go surfing.
yeah.
You know what you look good in, Adam? Speed walking. Like that booty jiggle.
I think like
53 minutes to talk. Well done, Keegan.
did well.
PB.
I think like obviously having played team sports for all of us, like basketball. Personally, I wouldn't view Olympics as like the pinnacle. Like making it to the NBA would be like every kid's dream. It's like it'd be cool to also represent your country, no doubt. But same with like rugby, like obviously rugby union or leagues, not even in the Olympics. Like for sevens, it is the kind of pinnacle of it. But like track and field, like that is the Olympics. So like I definitely want to do something in that, I reckon. Or Olympic weightlifting and stuff. That all has like they've got their own.
Too much what?
They've all. Are you against that, bro? What's wrong with that?
I feel there's what would be like. What are the random sports in the Olympics? I feel like there's like
archery,
you watch every
fencing.
year.
Skateboard.
Oh yeah, true. That's not like a random sport. Like there's like random sports where you're like
Fencing. Well, that's Winter Olympics. Fencing would be pretty rogue.
is chess in the Olympics?
No.
Damn it!
We should hold a perform chess
I
tournament.
would definitely do chess. At least physical demanding sport there is. I think it would be safe in that.
Yeah. I reckon another good. Here's another question from me, based around the Olympics. If you had 4 years to train for any sport that's in the Olympics, what do you reckon you'd have the best chance of getting into?
Chess.
It's not in the Olympics.
What was the question?
If you had 4 years, so like the next Olympics, what if you trained for the next 4 years, like purely dedicated?
100%. I'm going ping pong. That's in the Olympics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going ping pong.
Apparently golf is in the Olympics.
Change my idea. It's golf.
Apparently golf is in the Olympics.
Give me 12 years and I'll.
I reckon you look like a rhythmic swimmer. A
Oh,
synchronized
synchronized
swimming.
swimmer.
Oh, we could do that together.
You look good in budgies.
We could do the synchronized diving.
No, actually, you know what sport I'll actually get into? Handball.
Oh, yeah.
Handball would be such a good sport
Actually,
to get
Spenny
into.
can coach you, mate. Synchronized
Spenny.
in the diving.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spenny can coach us for synchronized diving.
Yeah, actually. Track cycling would be a good one.
Yeah, actually, the velodrome.
Just build
With
your
my
quads.
quads, I reckon I have a chance. All right,
All right,
let's start wrapping this up. Last question. From shout out to Watto. From Watto, favorite Trinity student, Keith.
I reckon Isaac can take the lead on this one. So I actually want to know. This is interesting.
I reckon Watto.
For you,
Favorite.
Yeah.
it was Cam before, wasn't it?
Yeah. The one kid that actually listened to me.
Yeah, Cam. So
took
shout out
my
Cam.
advice.
Now he's a very good golfer.
Better than Isaac.
Better than Isaac, actually.
Not very hard, but that's all right.
What's yours, Adam?
I don't know. I definitely have some least favourites, but I won't name them. Jacob Leahy, probably. I love Jacob.
Jacob.
Yeah. He just loves it. He just loves the work. I just love seeing like a kid who was shy coming in and now just comes in and chats shit.
If anyone met Baby C-Bum, that's him. I think everyone knows who my favourite is. You have a guess?
Who?
Have a guess. Who's my favourite at Trinity?
Who's my favourite?
Who's my favourite?
Friends. Ruben.
Well, I think you guys connect on multiple levels because you both disappear when you get girlfriends.
Oh.
Says you.
Oh, how was your comment the other day on his birthday post?
Well, who are we talking about here?
Ben.
Your
Oh, Ben
favourite,
Filia.
Oh.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
What did you say? What did you say in that comment?
I would like to put a missing persons report down. Because ever since
For yourself or for him?
Nah, so ever since Benny Filia's got a girlfriend, he's just gone missing. Even his mum came in yesterday and actually told me, just ever since he's got a girlfriend, just don't hang out with the family anymore.
Sounds like someone familiar.
Yeah, Adam.
This guy.
Shout out to Keith for being the most hypocritical person ever.
That's right. He'll be back in your love triangle in a few weeks.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It's me, you, and Kiko, baby. We can go for hot girl walks along the coast.
All right, I think it's time for us to wrap it up for today's.
Also, if you did get this far, again, I'm a bit upset because there's a couple of people come up to me and been like, "Oh, I got you down to the podcast and I heard that thing." I was like, "Did you comment?" They're like, "Nah." I was like, "Comment."
What
what's
should
going to
we
be
put?
today's one?
Just calling out Keith.
Yeah. No, I reckon your Olympic sport. Just put an Olympics. Give me an Olympic sport.
Put your favourite Olympic sport.
Wait, what are they commenting on? The Spotify?
Yeah,
What-
either on Spotify, whatever you're listening to. If you're
Okay.
listening on Spotify, Apple,
Not YouTube.
YouTube will have like half of it because I forgot to press record on the video. Or maybe we'll just have half the podcast on YouTube,
Yeah.
and then you have to go to Spotify to listen to the first half of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's only clickbaits.
Part 1 and part 2.
Yeah. But yeah, comment your favourite Olympic sport on whatever platform. Or actually, you know how he said to comment a fruit emoji on Keith's latest Instagram post? My brother went to do it and he said that the last 2 posts that Keith have done are just collaborations from someone else. And then it's been over 3 months, almost 4 months since your last post. So he didn't want to comment on one 4 months ago.
The next post that Keith posts, put it on there.
Might be this week, actually.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. 2025 is the year. You heard it here first. Keith will be active on social media.
Maybe once a month. We start with once a month, and we something realistic. Start with once a month.
Smart goals.
Yep. And we go once a fortnight. Maybe once a week after that.
Bullshit.
Anyway,
Anyway,
thank you for listening. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. And we will see you next week with the next episode.
Catch you later.